What is the power of application events in XL-VBA? Here are a few application events. The worksheet can go through a selection change event, through a change event, etc. Workbooks go through an open event, etc. I'll give you a few examples. Sometimes you have huge spreadsheets and you want to know in which column are we exactly and in which row are we. So whenever the user clicks somewhere on a cell, it highlights that row and that column automatically. If you right click on that active cell, you get also a sub-menu for the macros you can run from this application. Here are the macros that I'm talking about. They are very simple ones. Each time you run grids, you need to set display grid lines from true to false, not true, or from false to not true, not false is true. The same for display formulas and print preview. Be aware that these macros have to be in a module. A module is accessible for all sheets in your file. At the moment we are going to talk about application events. You want to be in a specific sheet or in this workbook. You select from the first top-down row the worksheet object, and once you do that, in the right drop-down list it has all the events that come with a worksheet. Let's say the selection change event. In that worksheet selection change event we are going to follow the user. Target tells you where the user is at that moment. Instead of target I used active cell. Why? Because target can sometimes be multiple cells and then we get into trouble. So I use active cell. That's only one cell, the first one of what you had selected. Entire row, interior column, I set it to XL gray 75. I do the same for the entire column. However, if you do this again, you have already gray columns and rows, so you have to set first everything back to 0. Then we are going to implement that sub-menu. We do that in the before right-click event. We need two variables. One is of the variant type. I will explain why. We need an object type variable for a command bar and another one for the command bar control. The array function is going to return an array of 3 words. Grids, the first macro, formulas, preview. We store that in VArray. That's why VArray has to be a variant. A variant can hold arrays, multiple elements. Set all menu to a new command bar. Add to the collection of command bars a new one. I don't give it a name. I make it of the bar pop-up type. And the fourth argument makes it temporary, so it doesn't stay there forever. We loop through the array from element 0 to the last index of the elements, 0, 1, 2. We close the loop. We set O-item, which is a command bar control, to a new control added to the collection of controls in O-menu, the new command bar. We give it a caption for the first element in the array, grids, and we run on action the array, the subroutine called grids, and then we do that for formulas and previews. Show it as a pop-up, that menu, and the last one is probably a little bit enigmatic. When you right click on something, Excel comes up with a menu. We want to cancel that. We don't want what Excel wants, we want what we want. The next one is something similar. I blow up that section. If I happen to be in this cell, it will split my screen in 4 sections so I can scroll them independently. And there is a little button that follows me in the right lower corner of where I am. I can turn my split on or off and it follows me wherever I go. So I need a selection change event again, because I want to make sure that the command button follows me where I go. So the top of the command button is the same as the top of the active cell, plus the height of the cell, so it's going to be below the active cell. And it has to be to the right of the active cell, so its left should be the left of the active cell plus the width of the active cell. Then I need to do something when in the click event of that command button 1, I didn't name it, so it's still command button 1. When someone clicks on it, then I check what is the split situation of the active window. If that is true, then I do this, otherwise I do that. If the split is already true, I turn it off, of course. Otherwise, I turn it on. And I have to change the caption of that command button to turn split on or turn split off. The third one is a similar situation. I changed a value in here and I put a comment here. It was changed on that date and that time by this user from 550 to 5500, and I can keep adding things to that cell when I go to the next one, etc. So we need a worksheet selection change and a worksheet change event. Why? First, I need a variable that I can use in both events, so I declare it before any subroutine. They call that a global variable. In the selection change event, I set that global variable to what now is in the active cell, what the text, that is the formatted version with dollar signs, etc. When the user changes something in the worksheet, we need to talk to the old comment and the new comment. If the target count of the cells is greater than 1, that means you have selected multiple cells, and please don't do this. You would create comments for all the cells. Otherwise, the new comment is changed on today's date and time by the user of this application from the old value. Notice that that old value is accessible because it's global. It was set when we changed the selection, and we use it now to create a comment. We need to do more. This is what we had already. If the target comment is nothing, if there is no comment yet, then we are going to create a comment. Otherwise, we're going to expand the comment. Target, add a comment, as new comment, changed on, etc. Else, I have to first find out what the old comment was by going to the comment text property, and then change that text property to the new comment followed on a new line with a line feed followed by the old comment. So I keep expanding my comment. Then I make sure that it auto sizes the text frame of that comment shape to true. If you want that comment to be visible, you can set it to true. I make it temporarily visible, so I set it back to false after I tell Excel to wait for 5 seconds. Now plus the time value of 5 seconds, so after 5 seconds it becomes invisible again. And then we do one more. When you want to move from one sheet to the other, I would like to do that with the page down key or the page up key. Can I make my own shortcut keys? Sure. When the workbook opens, we do that in this workbook open event. We use the application on key event, and we say on the shortcut page up, inside braces, run the macro move up. I don't have that macro yet, but it's going to be called move up. And I do the same for the page down key. If you want to know how you assign keys, go to on key when you type that and then press F1 to get help on that issue. Now I leave this workbook code window and I go to the module window, because macro should always be in a module. So the move down or the move up subroutines have to be in a module. Move down means you have to go down if you can't go down, but if the active sheet index is 1, you cannot go further down, so exit the sub. And if the sheet's index is the same as the number of sheets, then you can't go further up. So you have to stop that one. Otherwise, give me from the collections of sheets the one with the index of the active sheet -1, otherwise the index +1. Okay. So now we are going to test those codes. Here is the one that you could select any cell. This is the selection change event. And it follows you, it cleans everything out from before. When I right click there, I can show the grids or turn them off. I just turned them off, turn them back on. I can create a preview, and there is the preview of that screen. Now I need to implement a button. How do you do that? You go to the developer tab. If you don't have a developer tab, you have to make sure it's visible. You go to options, Excel options, and make sure on the customize ribbon that your developer tab is turned on. Once that is on, you can access the insert a control. Going to the ActiveX controls, there is the command button, and you just draw a command button, and it's by default command button 1. Don't forget to turn the design mode off, this thing is floating on the screen. And I go to move button. Here I made that button already for you. Notice that it follows you nicely wherever you go. It follows you and puts in the right lower corner that button. I can turn my split on. Now the split can be turned off, on. Wherever you go, it follows you. Turn split on, turn split off, and I can scroll my 4 sections independently. The comment one. If I go to March, the machine now remembers what is in there. And I'm going to change that into 5,000. Now the change event kicks in, and it says changed on that date from 6,000 something. If I go back there and say no, that should have been 6,000, then the same user changed it to 6,000. Finally, we have to test the page up and the page down one. The page down one goes down. I cannot go further down because I am at list index 1 and I'm going up. There is much more you want to know about all of this. So I developed for you a CD-ROM that discusses much more. Excel 2007 VBA, it has more than 1,500 slides, and it discusses any problem you could have with VBA. The one we discussed in this video is application events. I will not discuss the other ones in video, so if you want to know more about VBA, you have to find that CD-ROM at mrexcel.com, amazon.com, genesispc.com. If you go to amazon.com, just type my name, Gerard Verschuren,